Chapter 22. Act 2. Drew was true to his promise. A week later, my neck was straining under the weight of purple orchids, white lilies, and yellow roses. I also wore a necklace of red prayer beads. The Redcaps had insisted on sending a delegation to pray us on our way. Ronnie had rolled her eyes when she saw them approach the pier, but I thought it was a nice gesture. Besides, if Panosyn really was more than a historical figure, and the Redcaps had some kind of in with him, I saw no harm in seeking his favor. Ronnie and I stood near the stern of our sparklingly white, double-hulled boat. I looked around the pier. I'd been surprised by the small crowd of people who'd come to wish us off. Besides the Redcaps, there were a few researchers from Nori, a handful of Ronnie's friends, a reporter or two, and a group of classmates from my marine biology class. The romantic in me had hoped the cute nerd from history would show up to give me my first kiss, but I guess he didn't want to waste time on someone who was leaving. "I hope you see all sorts of amazing things," my school friend Kara said before squeezing me in a bone-crushing hug. "I brought you these so you can report your findings." Kara pressed a waterproof notebook labeled Field Notes into my hand, as well as a textbook titled What's in the Water? A Definitive Guide to Marine Life in the Destrian Sea. Kara gave me one more tearful hug before leaving to join our other classmates. I wiped the corner of my eye and tried not to imagine all the adventures Kara and I could have had as dorm mates. Our philosophy professor once taught us that the word decide comes from the root word side, meaning to cut or to kill. He'd gone on to explain that when you make a decision, you cut off all possibilities but one. I looked at the boat behind me, waiting patiently to be boarded. I closed my eyes and wondered for the millionth time if I'd inadvertently decided to kill my future. "Are you communing with the spirit, dear?" My thoughts were interrupted by a soft voice. I looked down to see one of the elderly Redcap women. She'd left her religious huddle to speak with me. I recognized her crimson fedora immediately. "Oh, no." I gave her an embarrassed smile. "I was just thinking." "The Holy Spirit often speaks to us through our own thoughts, you know," the fedora woman said with a knowing smile. "You'd best pay attention. The Lord might be speaking to you more often than you realize." Right then, I was thinking the flower garlands around my neck were kind of itchy and that we'd better board the boat soon or it'd leave without us. I doubted such mundane thoughts came from some supernatural omnipotent being. But I smiled at the elderly woman and promised I'd monitor my thoughts for any signs of divine interference. "The Spirit talks to me often," the fedora woman confided. "It told me to give you this." She held up a thin blue book titled The Search for Happiness. "It talks all about Panosyn's journey. I hope you find what you're searching for as well." She clasped her hands over mine as I accepted her gift. Despite their deep wrinkles and numerous age spots, her hands felt strong and warm. "Panosyn be with you, dear," she said, before releasing my hands. "And with you," I said, returning the blessing as she turned to walk away. It occurred to me then that we'd never exchanged names. I thought about calling out to her, but it just felt awkward at this point. I placed The Search for Happiness next to the books Kara had given me. I looked over to Ronnie, who was holding several foil-wrapped wine bottles she'd been gifted. She glanced at my stack of books and smirked. "Our friends know us well," she observed. The last one in line to say farewell was Akumi. She and Ronnie were both in tears as they clung to each other. I stood uncomfortably on the side, adjusting my flower garlands and wishing I still had the fedora woman to distract me. Then Akumi released Ronnie and turned to me. I was nervous she'd accuse me of stealing her best friend away, or worse, give me the silent treatment. But instead, Akumi gave me a large, watery smile and held out her arms for a hug. "Oh, Emily." She folded me into her arms. "I'm so glad we got to meet. You're so brave and determined and smart. I'm so glad Ronnie has you to go with her." My throat tightened as tears leaked down my cheeks. It felt so good to be accepted into her warm embrace once more, but it broke my heart to think this might be the last time I'd ever see her. "You were the first person to ever hug me, Akumi," I sniffed, pulling back slightly so I could see her face. "Did I ever tell you that? Your acceptance meant so much to me." Akumi's face flashed through a jumble of emotions too quickly for me to process. "Oh, Emily," she repeated, cupping my cheek in her hand. "I'm going to miss you. I'm so sorry if I ever made you feel bad. I'm only sad I don't get to watch you grow up." Ronnie, Akumi, and I turned to see one of the Nori researchers looking extremely uncomfortable. He held up his pocket watch.
"I hate to interrupt, but according to previously recorded observations, the boat is due to launch in 2 minutes. If you intend to board, you should do so now."
Akumi kissed me on the cheek and pulled both Ronnie and me into a final hug. "Go find him," Akumi said, as Ronnie and I stepped across the boat's transom. "And take care of each other, okay?" Akumi and Ronnie squeezed each other's hands as the boat's navigation lights flared to life. With a small lurch, the boat slowly and silently pulled away from the pier. Carl came to wrap his arm around Akumi's shoulder as she waved goodbye. Drew popped the cork on a bottle of sparkling wine and let the fizzing liquid spray across the stern. The redcaps gasped and tutted in disapproval as the wind splashed some of the wine across the base of the miniature lighthouse.
"Have fun solving the mysteries of life," Drew called after us. "When you find Jack, tell him he's a prick for leaving you hanging."
The sun was setting behind the city skyline. It was a truly magnificent sight. From here, we couldn't see the cockroach-covered trash bags piled on the streets or the urine-stained walls of the muggy metro stations. Instead, we saw the setting sun bathing the city in a golden glow and transforming the polluted harbor into a stunning mirror of the fiery sky. They say everything looks rosier in hindsight. Tonight, that was literal. Ronnie and I stood waving from the aft deck. With an unspoken understanding, we reached for each other's hands. It was an instinctive gesture, like, here we go, you and me. We're in this together. I glanced toward the bow of the boat and the darkening emptiness that lay before us. Everything I'd ever known was slipping out of sight behind us. If I hadn't had Ronnie there to anchor me, I might have chickened out and swam back to shore. We kept waving as the pier and our friends shrank into the shadows cast by Pier 7's miniature lighthouse. A sudden twinge pinched my left shoulder. I guessed the combination of heavy flower garlands and constant waving was wearing on me. And then I saw it, a red sports pod idling on the wharf's service road. I squinted and could just barely make out a person standing near the pod, watching our departure. I was hit with a weird sense of longing, regret, and curiosity. Was that the same man and pod as before? Or were red sports pods the official taxis of the Redcaps? Maybe the pod was there to pick up the religious delegation. I guess I'd never find out now. I took a deep breath and let the minor mystery fade into the night along with the only home I'd ever known.